we are now being joined by Mr. Andreas Joehle, CEO of Hartmann. Mr. Joehle, some questions. What would you say? Should growth be less important for developed countries?
I think growth is definitely important for developed countries. The question is what kind of growth. I think there is a difference because the growth in non-developed countries, you can say, is more about raising in the different levels, personal development, getting access to healthcare, all these kind of things. While the growth in the developed countries is more the question, what purpose is behind the growth? So we need growth, but I think we need growth with a purpose.
Okay, and if you look at this topic from a corporate perspective, is it just okay? We need to grow, or do you also need growth with a purpose?
I think we definitely need growth with a purpose for a couple of reasons. Because we have a scarcity in our business, for example. We're running in the classic healthcare demographic problem. So we have more people which need access to healthcare. We have less growing budgets, so the budgets are stable. The demand is growing. We have a scarcity on resources financially and like in physicians and nurses taking care of elderly patients in one segment of our business, which means I have to deliver products, not the highest volume. It's not about the highest growth. It's the question, is it affordable? Is it simple? And is it efficient in doing the job? So the way how we grow in the future is different because it needs to be intertwined exactly with the needs of the market, because just the growth push will not get us anywhere. It might be a little peak and then a big downfall.
But in the long run, will anything be more important than long-term profits for a company?
I would say overall it depends a lot on the shareholdership, because we have a dichotomy here. If you're a public noted company, it depends on how your shareholders are somehow segmented. I think there is a dichotomy saying I want to have sustainability, I want to have purpose on one side, I want to have the profits on the other side. I think what it takes is a more open communication about what is expected, what are we going to deliver. I'm a strong believer that clear transparency of the purpose of the company, where we want to be, is something what shareholders can digest. So you have to deliver return on the invested money, because we're not working with our own money at the final end, but it needs to be with a purpose, and the purpose needs to be explained. Because if we are not driving for the change of how it is received, then we're just waiting there that the shareholders will come up with a different demand. I'm not sure if it's going to work that way around. We have a role to play here, and we have to be transparent and also committed to what we're telling the people.
Maybe one last question, which might sound selfish. You just had a session with leaders of tomorrow. If you were to look back on your own career and to give advice to today's young generation, maybe very pointed advice, what would it be?
A very pointed advice is what I can say is close the loop, which means there's a sexiness part of any project, the analytical part, the decision making, what we just have discussed in the session. The real work starts afterwards in the implementation, in regard to creating results, and closing this loop from the strategy, decision, implementation, results is exactly what is required. And that is my strong recommendation for every manager, but specifically for the leaders of tomorrow, because sometimes my impression is, not all the time, that the sexy part is over, then the task goes on with the next sexy part. That will backfire later, whatever the development is going to be, because you need to understand that this is a closed loop from my perspective.
Thank you very much, Mr. Joehle. It's been a pleasure to have you.
Thanks a lot.